I have already mentioned that Irene was not brought into public notice till Garrick was manager of Drury Lane Theatre. 1742, the 33rd, around 1742, Etat 33. In 1742, he wrote for the Gentleman's Magazine the preface, the parliamentary debates, essay on the account of the conduct of the Duchess of Marlborough, then the popular topic of conversation. This essay is a short but masterful performance. We find him in number 13 of his Rambler, censoring a profligate sentiment of that account, and again insisting upon it strenuously in conversation. Journal of a Tour of the Hebrides, 3rd edition. You can find more on that. An account of the life of Peter Burnham, I believe chiefly taken from a foreign publication, as indeed he could not himself know much about Burman. Additions to his life of Bardier, the life of Syndham, afterwards prefixed to Miss Dr. Swan's edition of his works, proposals for printing Bibliotheca Harlenia, or a catalogue of the library of the Earl of Oxford, his account of that celebrated collection of books in which he displays the importance to literature of what the French call a catalogue raisonné, when the subject of it are extensive and various, and it executed with ability cannot fail to impress all his readers with admiration of his philological attainments. It was afterwards prefixed in the first volume of the catalogue, in which the Latin accounts of books were written by him. He was employed in this business by Dr. Thomas Osborne, the bookseller, who purchased the library for $13,000, a sum which Mr. Olsey says in one of his manuscripts was not more than the binding of the books had cost. Yet, as Dr. Johnson assured me, the slowness of the sale was such that there was not much gain by it. It has been confidently related with many establishments that Johnson one day knocked Osborne down in his shop with a folio and put his foot upon his neck. The simple truth I had from Johnson himself. Sir, he was impertinent to me, and I beat him. But it was not in his shop. It was in my own chamber. Very diligent observer may trace him where we should not easily suppose him to be found. I have no doubt that he wrote the little abridgment entitled Foreign History in the magazine for December. To prove it, I shall quote the introduction. And I quote, "As this is that season of the year in which nature may be said to command a suspension of hostilities, and which seems indeed intended, by putting a short stop to violence and slaughter, to afford time for malice to relent and animosity to subside, we can scarce expect any other accounts than of plans, negotiations, and treaties, of proposals for peace and preparations for war." As also this passage, "Let those who despise the capacity of the Swiss tell us by what wonderful policy, or by what happy consolation of interests, it is brought to pass that in a body made up of different communities and different religions, there should be no civil commotions, though the people are so warlike that to nominate and raise an army is the same." I am obliged here to Mr. Astle for his ready permission to copy the two following letters, of which the originals are in his possession. Their contents show that they were written about this time, and that Johnson was now engaged in preparing on his historical account of the British Parliament. No date. To Mr. Cave, Sir, I thought we were done with Cave letters. Guess not. To Mr. Cave, Sir, I believe I am going to write a long letter, and have therefore taken a whole sheet of paper. The first thing to be written about is our historical design. You mentioned the proposal of printing in numbers as an alteration in the scheme, but I believe you mistook, some way or another, my meaning. I had no other view than that you might rather print too many of 5 sheets than of 5 and 30. Don't know what that means. With regard to what I shall say on the manner of proceeding, I would have it understood as wholly indifferent to me, and my opinion only, not to my resolution. Ex potera sit integre. The purchaser has the right of choice. I think the insertion of the exact dates of the most important events in this margin, or of so many events as may enable the reader to regulate the other order of facts with sufficient exactness, the proper medium between a journal, which has regard only to time, and a history, which ranges facts according to their dependence on each other, and postpones or anticipates according to the convenience of narration. I think the work ought to partake of the spirit of history, which is contrary to minute exactness, and of the regulatory of a journal, which is inconsistent with spirit. For this reason, I neither admit numbers or dates, nor reject them. I am of your opinion with regard to placing most of the resolutions and etc. in the margin, and I think we shall give the most complete account of parliamentary proceedings that can be contrived. The naked papers, without a historical treatise interwoven, require some other book to make them understood. I will date in the succeeding facts with some exactness, but I think in the margin. You told me on Saturday that I had received money on this work and found set down 13, 2 shillings, 6 Ds, whatever that is, reckoning the half-guinea of last Saturday. As you hinted to me that you had many calls for money, I would not press you too hard, and therefore shall desire only, as I send it in, 2 guineas for a sheet of copy. The rest you may pay me when it may be more convenient, and even by the sheet payment I shall, for some time, be very expensive. The Life of Savage I am ready to go upon, and in great primer and pica notes I reckon on sending in half a sheet a day. But the money for that shall likewise lie by in your hands till it is done. With the debates, shall not I have business enough, if I had but good pens? Towards Mr. Savage's life, what more have you got? I would willingly have his trial, etc., and know whether his defence be at Bristol, and would have his collection of poems, an account of the preface, the Plains Dealer, all the magazines that have anything of his relating to him. I thought in my letter would be long, but it is now ended. And I am, sir, yours, and etc., Sam Johnson. Fascinating. The boy found... Oh, here's another one. In quotes. The boy found me writing this almost in the dark, when I could not quite easily read yours. I have read the Italian. Nothing in it is well. Boswell is not discovered yet. I'm confused by this footnote. Never mind. I had no notion of having anything for the inscription. I hope you don't think I kept it to extort a price. I could think of nothing till today. If you could spare me another guinea for the history, I should make it very kindly tonight, but if you do not, I shall not think it an injury. I'm almost well again. So now we're reading all his letters about how he wants money. Well, that's fair. It's important. Money is important. To Mr. Cave. Sir, you did not tell me your determination about the soldier's letter. Okay, so soldier's letter. Boswell has not discovered what the hell that means. That's what the footnote says. Which I am confident was never printed. I think it will not do by itself or in any other place, so well as the magazine. Extraordinary! If you will have it at all, I believe you do not think I set it high, and I will be glad if what you will give quickly. You need not be in care about something to print, for I have got the state trials, and shall extract Layer, Atterbury, and Macclesfield from them, and shall bring them to you in a fortnight, after which I will try to get the South Sea report. The letter continues, and then I hope to proceed regularly. Boswell failed to turn the page, or he would have found the missing words and the signature. Oh, I see. That's a editorial from post Boswell. Anyway, no date, nor signature. End of that letter. Back to Boswell. I would have also ascribed to him an essay on the description of China from the French of Duhade. His writings in the Gentleman's Magazine in 1743 are the preface, the parliamentary debates, considerations on the dispute between Crossaz and Warburton, on Pope's essay on man, in which, while he defends Crossaz, he shows an admirable metaphysical cuteness and temperament in controversy. Ad lorem pestorum epigramma, anglictus inter pulcherrima lera puellos, mox uteri ponderus, grave acidi lora tibi facilis, lucuna dolente, neve tibi nociet prenti dies, which translates, of course, as Laura, prettiest girl in England, you will soon be rid of your grievous burden. May Lucia be kind to you in your pains. May you not suffer for having excelled a goddess. And a Latin translation of Pope's verses on his grotto. And, as he could employ his pen with equal success upon a small matter as a great, I suppose him to be the author of an advertisement for Osborne concerning the great Harleian catalogue. I'm sorry about that epigram before that I translated in Latin. Mr. Hector was present when this epigram was made impromptu. The first line was proposed by Dr. James, and Johnson was called upon by the company to finish it, which he instantly did. The first line is, again, Laura, prettiest girl in England, I believe. Anyway, but I should think myself much wanting, both to my illustrious friend and my readers, did I not introduce here, with more than ordinary respect, an exquisitely beautiful ode, which has not been inserted in any of the collections of Johnson's poetry, written by him at a very early period, as Mr. Hector informs me, and inserted in the Gentleman's Magazine of this year. I will read now this ode to you. It is called Friendship, an Ode. Friendship, peculiar boon of heaven, the noble mind's delight and pride, to men and angels only given, to all the lower world denied. Why love, unknown amongst the blest, parent of thousand wild desires, the savage and the human breast, torments alike with raging fires. With bright but oft destructive gleam, alike o'er all his lightnings fly. Thy lambent glories only beam around the favourite of the sky. Thy gentle flows of guiltless joys on fools and villains ne'er descend. In vain for thee the tyrant sides, and hugs and flatterer for a friend. Oh, we're not done yet. Directness of the brave and just, O guide us through life's darksome way, and let the tortures of mistrust on selfish bosoms only prey. Nor shall thine ardours cease to glow when souls to blissful climes remove. Excuse me. What raised our virtues here below shall aid our happiness above. Above. He's trying to rhyme remove with above, so above. Maybe that's how they said it back then, I don't know. Beautiful. Johnson had now an opportunity of obliging his schoolfellow, Dr. James, of whom he once observed, "No man brings more mind to his profession." James published this year his medicinal dictionary in 3-volume folio. Johnson, as I understood from him, had written, or assisted in writing, the proposals for this work, and being very fond of the study of physic, in which James was his master, he furnished some of the articles. He, however, certainly wrote for it the dedication to Dr. Mead, which is conceived with great address to conciliate the patronage of that very eminent man. I will read it, the thing by R. James here. Sir, that to Dr. Mead. Sir, that the medical dictionary is dedicated to you is to be imputed only to your reputation for superior skill in those sciences which I have endeavored to explain and facilitate, and you are, therefore, to consider this address, if it is agreeable to you, as one of the rewards of merit, and if otherwise as one of the inconveniences of eminence. However you shall receive it, my design cannot be disappointed, because this public appeal to your judgment will show that I do not found my hopes of approbation upon the ignorance of my readers, and that I fear his censure least, whose knowledge is most extensive. I am, sir, your most obedient, humble servant, R. James. Anyway, back to the story, or whatever you want to call it. It has been circulated, I know not with what thought authenticity, that Johnson considered Dr. Birch as a dull writer. Instead of him, Tom Birch is as brisk as a bee in conversation, but no sooner does he take a pen in his hand than it becomes a torpedo to him and benumbs all his faculties. That the literature of this country is much indebted to Birch's activity and diligence must certainly be acknowledged. We have seen that Johnson honored him with a Greek epigram, and his correspondence with him during many years proves that he had no mean opinion of him. Oh, and let's read a little letter to Dr. Birch. Thursday, September 29th, 1743, to Dr. Birch. Sir, I hope you will excuse me for troubling you on an occasion in which I know not whom else I can apply to. I am at a loss for the lives and characters of Earl Stanhope, the 2 Craigs, and the Minister Sunderland, and beg that you will inform me where I may find them, and send any pamphlets, etc., resulting to them to Mr. Cave, to be pursued for a few days by, sir, your most humble servant, Sam Johnson. His circumstances were at this time much embarrassed, yet his affection for his mother was so warm and so liberal that he took upon himself a debt of hers which, though small in itself, was then considerable to him. This appears from the following letter which he wrote to Mr. Levitt of Lichfield, the original of which lies now before me. December 1, 1743, to Mr. Levitt in Lichfield. Sir, I am extremely sorry that we have encroached so much upon your forbearance with respect to the interest, which the great perplexity of affairs hindered me from thinking of with that attention that I ought, in which I am not immediately able to remit to you, but will pay it, I think £12, in 2 months. I look upon this, and on the future interest of that mortgage, as my own debt, and beg that you will be pleased to give me directions how to pay it, and not mention it to my dear mother. If it be necessary to pay this in less time, I believe I can do it. But I take 2 months for certainty, and beg an answer whether you can allow me so much time. I think myself very much obliged to your forbearance, and shall esteem it a great happiness to be able to serve you. I have great opportunities of dispersing anything that you may think it proper to make public. I will give a note for the money, payable at the time mentioned, to any one here that you shall appoint. I am, sir, your most obedient and most humble servant, Sam Johnson. At Mr. Osborne's bookseller in Gray's Inn. Well, humbling, isn't it, to hear about how the great Johnson had to wait 2 months to give some guy £12 for the mortgage. Makes you think, huh? Anyway, until next time, bye from Boswell.